Hello and welcome to another build video. Today we're going to be having a look at the Stamina Templar. Um, Templar is a PvP build that has suffered a bit recently. Historically, it's always struggled a bit to switch from defense to offense, and unfortunately, a couple of patches ago, they've changed jabs as well as power of the light to work a bit differently, which I'm not sure if it's helped it much in PvE, but certainly in PvP, it does mean that the burst potential is not quite there. So we will be using a couple of proc sets on this build to try and make up for that. So just to start off, let's have a look at our character. So we're running an orc here with 40 points into health and 24 points into stamina, using the Smoked Bear Haunch. We are not a vampire, and we're actually running the Atronak Mundus Stone for Magicka recovery. And the reason for that will become apparent soon. Going on to our skills, on the front bar we are running Radiant Glory as an execute, Fiery Contingency with damage over time, as well as Major Savagery and Prophecy. This is for some extra damage, but it also procs one of the sets that you'll see soon, and it also gives us our major crit buff. We're using Biting Jabs as our spammable, Power of the Light as our delayed burst ability, Resolving Vigor for heals, and Dawnbreaker of Smiting as our ultimate ability. On the back bar, we're using Reviving Barrier for some Magicka sustain, Restoring Focus, this gives us very good stamina sustain, Healing Soul with heal, the Templar specific class affix, and the Major Vitality signature script. This is our main burst heal. Extended Ritual, this is an excellent heal over time ability that goes on the floor. It can be very useful. There's a lot of powerful dot builds out there at the moment, and it's also quite nice for your teammates as well, being able to use the Purify synergy. Race Against Time for our mobility, and Elemental Susceptibility as our source of major breach. Getting onto the sets, so on the front bar we're running 2 pieces of Plague Break. This is an extremely powerful proc set, especially when you're fighting more than one opponent. Essentially, whenever you deal direct damage, the opponent becomes a Plague Carrier, which does a weak dot over 10 seconds, and it also applies the diseased status effect, which reduces their healing taken. But the important thing here is that if the Plague Carrier status gets removed, for example, if the opponent purges it, or if the opponent dies while they have this on them, there's a big explosion which increases exponentially based on how many other enemies are nearby. Although this effect can only affect enemy players, the number of enemies nearby include things like sorcerer pets and various things like that, so you can very quickly get a very big boom. And the beautiful thing about running this on Templar in particular is we deal 3 loads of direct damage in an AoE very quickly. So the internal cooldown for Plague Break is per target, so this effect can only occur once every 20 seconds per target. And because our jabs does 3 loads of direct damage, they're counted as 3 separate attacks. So with a single jabs, we can potentially infect 3 enemies, which is really useful for quickly spreading plague amongst a grouped up enemies. On the back bar, so Plague Break, we're running Mace and a Sword, and we're running Guards, Boots, and a Ring Bloodthirsty. As you can see, our second set here is Etheric Lancer. This is the Infinite Archive set for Templar, and this is a very powerful delayed burst set. So it's got good 2, 3, and 4 pieces, and then the 5 pieces dealing damage with Burning Light twice within 30 seconds creates a small yellow area on the ground, and if you deal damage with an Adrix Spear ability while you're standing in that area, you get this very nice, almost 10k unbuffed proc, also applying Sundered, which is minor breach, and also giving you a nice spell damage boost as well. So this is extremely powerful, and it is not that difficult to proc when you're using jabs because you're hitting so many targets so quickly. Just to recap what Burning Light is, you basically have to deal damage 4 times over 3 seconds to proc Burning Light. So essentially we have to do 8 loads of damage procs, but the downside is that this can only occur every half second, so the shortest time period that we could reach this would be 4 seconds, if that makes sense. And in the demonstration in a bit, I'll show you how we go about getting that to proc. And then we are not running a mythic on this build, but we are running 2 pieces of Balorg as our monster set, and then 1 piece of the Vatran Ice Staff on the back bar as well. The reason for this is that you really want to have Etheric Lancer on the body, because you want to be able to contribute towards those burning light stacks even when you're on the back bar, and that means that once you do turn and burn and go offensive, then you can very quickly do that. So yeah, we're running a poison damage and a physical damage enchant on our weapons on the front bar, and a weapon damage enchant on the back bar, and then everything else is Tri-Chat enchanted. We've got 1, 2 heavy and 5 medium here. Let's just look at that quickly in the armory station. And quickly going over CP. We are running Fighting Finesse, Master Arms, Ironclad, and Resilience. And then in the red tree we're running Sustained by Suffering, Pain's Refuge, Survival Instincts, and Celerity. Okay, just to quickly demonstrate our rotation and how the proc sets work. So because the Plague Break only works against a player target, we can't really demonstrate that here, but I just want to show the Etheric Lancer in action. So we would typically approach our enemies on the back bar, typically with Race Against Time going, and we would drop down our ground hots if you've got time, and then we would start off with Elisas, Vigor, Power of the Light, Contingency, Jabs, Jabs, Dawnbreaker, Jabs, and then I just want to demonstrate here, if you see, all 3 of these targets are sundered, and that's because if you hit Etheric Lancer with an AoE attack like Jabs is, you will hit all 3 enemies as well. So it's extremely powerful, and the beauty of it is that it's counted as a multi-target, single-target attack as opposed to an AoE. So what that means is essentially it doesn't get reduced by things like major evasion. Okay, so I thought I would show some clips just to demonstrate this build in action. So we're playing a BG here. We've got some of the purple team coming in. I start by trying to get this initial guy low. It's not working too well. There's a Etheric proc here which I waste, unfortunately, but then I see that there's another proc happening really quickly, so I Dawnbreaker, and then you can see that the Plague Break very quickly just finishes them off. Sometimes you need to be patient with the Plague Break, not the Plague Break, sorry, the Etheric proc. You need to make sure that you've got a good burst window. So here I can see that there's a lot of red on the ground. I just want to take a moment to reassess and see exactly what's going on. I see my moment here, the Etheric procs. I turn around, I've already contingency'd Dawnbreaker in, and with the Balorg procced Dawnbreaker Etheric Plague Break combo, that's just a lot of damage. Now, you'll find enemies that are tankier as well, that don't clump up, and this build still works very well against those as well. It's got good damage, good sustain. You can see here that we're fighting a slightly tanky Dragon Knight, and we also have an Arcanist that's putting pressure on us. We're not in the best situation here. We don't really have many teammates around. We've just been ulti dumped, so I'm taking the opportunity here just to make some space. And we're being followed by 1 red and 1 purple, a Sork, Stam Sork I think, and a Dragon Knight. So I'm just line of sighting here, and although the Dragon Knight is my target, I see that the Sork isn't really keeping up their defenses super high. So I see that Etheric proc, and I just immediately switch targets to the Sork, get him down low, and then he goes down with that Dawnbreaker burst. I'm left in a 1v1 with the DK here. Again, I'm just dotting him up, making sure I'm keeping my debuffs on him, and again he goes down quite quickly as well. This next clip is the last clip I've got here. It's a slightly longer clip. Again, it's just showing off the build in action essentially. So the thing with Etheric Lancer is that it's not like Tarnished Nightmare where you've got that guaranteed proc every 8 seconds. You have to work for it a little bit. but the plus side is that you've got a much higher tooltip, and it also gives you the weapon damage as well, and it also just looks awesome too. So that first guy I was fighting decides to run away. I'm fighting a fairly tanky Arcanist. I'm eating off his stuns. Unfortunately, he ulties, I ulti, and instead of backing off to heal, I just decide to push in for the kill. I think sometimes that's the best decision. I've got some more enemies coming in here, but luckily some of my team come in as well. As you can see, whenever you see the etheric proc, what you really want to be doing is just moving yourself onto that. So the range on jabs is actually fairly far. You can see here that I'm being slightly frustrated because the enemies aren't really coming into my etheric proc, but at the same time this is quite a mobile fight. Essentially what you want to be doing is fighting in perhaps smaller areas or around some line of sight, so you can go around the corner and then turn and burn. The rest of this clip is just showing off some of the build in action, but yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.